Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are entering the metaverse with Facebook owner Meta names DoorDash CEO Tony Xu to the board. Now, as we know, Tony Xu is a dirtbag. But the fact that he was put into the metaverse raises a little concern for me as a gig worker. Now Tony Xu is going to have his attention divided, which means we're going to be overlooked even more than we already are. But the metaverse is now going to have the influence of Tony Xu, which has been known to be, well, corrupt and wrong. So with that said, let's talk about what the Wall Street Journal is saying, how it actually is, and everything in between. Facebook's parent Meta Platforms Incorporated appointed DoorDash Incorporated's chief executive Tony Xu to its board of directors, adding an outside executive experience to a group that has been criticized for its lack of independence. I don't understand what the problem is with asking for outside help, even if it is Tony Xu. So I'm a little curious about why they're known for having a lack of independence. Mr. Xu's appointment Tuesday is the first change to the board since the company rebranded itself as Meta in October. It is also the first addition to the board since the departure of Jeffrey Zaintz, who chose not to seek re-election to the company's board in March 2020. Mr. Zaintz was succeeded by Robert Kimmett, a lawyer and former deputy secretary at the Department of the Treasury during the George W. Bush administration. Mr. Kimmett is the lead independent director. I'm curious to hear why Jeffrey Zaintz didn't want to continue onto the board. To me, that's a bit of a red flag. Mark Zuckerberg is Meta's chairman and CEO and controls the majority of the company's voting stock through super voting shares. The majority of Meta's outside shareholders in recent years have voted to separate those roles, which the company has rejected, and some investors have said they believe the board is too beholden to Mr. Zuckerberg. If the guy really isn't going to hear the outside perspective of shareholders, then that's a problem. However, I don't want to take advice from somebody who doesn't really know how to run a social media platform or how to really run the metaverse. I guess I kind of understand that, but I don't think it's so bad that he has a large amount of the super voting shares and he kind of wants to keep hold of them. Several directors with significant executive experience, including Netflix CEO Reed Hastings and former American Express chief Kenneth Chenault, have left the board in recent years. Oh, so they're just getting a lot of people just dipping at this point. Like, first they have Jeffrey Zaintz, who just decided, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore. And then these guys from Netflix and Amex, who just said, you know what, we're gonna dip too. No wonder why they needed to resort to a scumbag like Tony Xu. Mr. Xu brings experience running one of Silicon Valley's fastest growing companies. He co-founded DoorDash as a student at Stanford University in 2013. The 37-year-old executive worked as a dishwasher in his mother's Chinese restaurant after emigrating to the US as a child, and drew on some of that experience during his early days at DoorDash. The guy, as much as I hate him, he did come from another country, went to school, and built a good company. The platform itself is solid, I guess, because of its customer volume and overall popularity in marketing so far. However, it doesn't mean he's going to be good for the metaverse. Like, that doesn't mean that suddenly he can use his experience in DoorDash to make the metaverse better. That's just not true. The pandemic served as an unexpected boon for food delivery, catapulting DoorDash into the nation's largest food delivery app. Thanks to its strong foothold in the suburbs, unlike rivals Uber Technologies, Inc., and Grubhub Incorporated. They are still not profitable. So there's no unexpected boon. Yes, they actually grew as a company. They have the largest market share, and I understand that. But they still haven't shown a profit. So even with all that boon, they haven't even developed so much as a savings account. So they got a brand out there. And their brand is known for piss poor integrity and character, and just overall poor business practices. While DoorDash continued to grow despite restaurant reopenings this summer, profits largely eluded the cost-intensive food delivery industry. Mr. Xu expanded DoorDash's offerings to more lucrative deliveries like groceries and alcohol in an effort to boost customers' average order sizes during the health crisis. So yeah, they expanded outside of food delivery and went into groceries and alcohol. And even with going into more lucrative deliveries, they are still not profitable. They even said that profits have largely eluded them. Mr. Xu has built a great service for millions of people to get food and more from hundreds of thousands of restaurants and small businesses. I've always thought it's important to have great tech leaders on our board, and Tony has direct experience both in running a tech company and solving complex challenges in commerce, Mr. Zuckerberg said in a statement. In order for them to do that, he had to basically stab everybody else in the back. The guy's a monster. So if that's the kind of integrity and character you're looking for on your board, that's just gonna go downhill quick. A DoorDash spokesperson declined to comment. That's really interesting. Like, why wouldn't they say something exciting about Tony Xu's going into the metaverse? Like, shouldn't that be exciting? That might be a red flag for the future. The Meta board now stands at 10 people. Mr. Zuckerberg and Xu, Meta Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg, venture capitalist Mac Anderson, and Peter Thiel, Dropbox Inc.'s Chief Executive Officer Drew Houston, PayPal Holdings Incorporated, Vice President Peggy Alford. So they have the Vice President of PayPal, former McKinsey & Company partner Nancy Kilfer, Estee Lauder Costs Inc., Finance Chief Tracy Travis, and Mr. Kimmett. So I'm starting to see why they say they lack independence, because they don't really have a lot of executives that are specifically beholden to Facebook. They actually have more outside counsel than they do inside counsel. This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. I'm already concerned for the future of the metaverse. But now that I see who the leadership is in running the metaverse, I'm concerned for any kind of investment going into this. However, what I'm most curious about from a gig worker's perspective is, one, DoorDash spokesperson declined to comment, and two, the fact that Tony Xu ended up going onto that board to begin. Why would the top dog of DoorDash, Tony Xu, become second fiddle or among second fiddles to the metaverse when their company hasn't even shown so much as a profit? I'm seeing a lot of red flags left, right, and center. The first red flag was the fact that the FTC and all of these other government officials and organizations are already on their butt on how they operate and their overall future. The second thing I want to talk about is how many of the executives are selling out of the company. Christopher Payne sold out a lot of his stock. Prabir Aldekar, the CFO, sold out a lot of their stock twice so far. And third, they've started developing an employee system in New York City, which we really haven't heard much about outside of the one time we talked about it. And they're forcing their employees to deliver food on their own, like in their offices. Now, what I'm really concerned about overall, the CEO is dividing his attention from the company, who has yet to show a profit, to help out in the metaverse as a secondary counsel. And to think that they grew so much during the pandemic, but has yet to show a profit. In fact, that was something Chris Payne said in his interview, is that when the pandemic hit, they didn't really see a growth in orders. They saw a growth when the stimulus hit and they got their $1,400 checks. That's when they grew. I think Tony Xu is seeing that and is getting ready for a big drop. People aren't going to have the money, so they're not going to order on DoorDash. So DoorDash might end up seeing the fall soon. Now, what can we do as gig workers? Same thing I always say every time. Diversify, diversify, diversify. That means get on more gig platforms. Work on your side hustle. Save your money. All of the above. Invest. Do what you gotta do. But overall, be ready for what can happen in the future. Because you don't want to put too much investment into DoorDash, especially based on the red flags we've already seen in the last year. Not even during the whole course of the pandemic. This was pretty much a year's worth of time so far. I am a little concerned for the future of DoorDash. Be ready for it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to smash the like button. subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.